Hey everybody, I'm Matt Brown, Dental Unfiltered. So excited to be here with you guys. We have a really awesome guest episode for you today. We have Avi Patel. We met at Yankee for the first time in person. We sat down and started talking and realized we talked for hours and we realized we had a lot in common. Then we found each other again, I think the second day, and talked. We ended up hanging out a lot and we were really similar. And Avi he coaches Invisalign and clear aligners. And this is an area where I have 370 practices or something we service, and I put a lot of my brain to Invisalign. And there's a whole lot of hangups with it. And number one hangup that everyone brings up is the lab bill. And there's a truth to the lab bill. And guys, don't take this the wrong way. You're short-sighted. You're looking at it the wrong way. And honestly, the way you're looking at it is pretty stupid. And I apologize for saying it that way, but it is. So me and Avi are going to talk about this. So first, Avi, you coach this stuff all the time. Really quick, why did you decide, as a dentist with a variety of skill sets, you somehow landed on your passion being clear aligners? What first steered you towards, I want to take my brain and my talents and focus on helping docs with clear aligners? Why was that a decision for you?
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's because it was something that I experienced in my own journey, right? So like, kind of just zooming out real quick, bird's eye view of like my story. I got, when I was young, I thought I was destined for the NBA, right? I was 5'10" in like the sixth grade. I'm like, the only way to go is up from here. Favorite player is Kobe Bryant. So I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to the NBA. And then in high school, we come back from one of the summers and like all my buddies are like over 6'3". I haven't grown since middle school. And so at that point, it became very clear that NBA was probably not in my future. And so, I am Indian and my parents very much wanted me to be some type of doctor, dentist, lawyer, engineer. And so my uncle is a dentist and he honestly, like he was always in a good mood, like just living a relatively like a good life, right? Like travels the world, always had a nice car, played golf often. I'm like, all right, let me see what this like dentist thing is about. Shadowed him for a summer, saw how he was with his patients, everything. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. And then he had a dinner party and then his, one of his buddies is a neurosurgeon and he was coming up to me and was just like, hey, you got to decide, like, you want to go to like med school or dental school. Cause at that point I was like also debating like doing like sports med. And then I was like, okay. And then was kind of like looking around. I was like 16 or 17 at the time. And then I'm like, by the way, like, why aren't you like hanging out with everybody else and like having fun? Like my uncle was like having a blast on the side. And he's like, oh, like I'm on call. And this was like a Friday night. And so I was like, all right, I don't think I want to like go through all that school to just like be on call on a Friday night. I kind of want to like enjoy life. So like as like naive or whatever as that sounds like, that's one of the things that put me over the edge. So being a dentist was all about kind of this lifestyle, right? The three buckets, like control of your time, you make good money, and then you can feel fulfilled because you're helping people. Reality for me when I came out of dental school, exact opposite. Working 6 days a week, 500,000 student loans, barely making money, doing work that just was not fulfilling. I'm like just doing, right, just fillings and very basic stuff. Fast forward, burnt out, got introduced to aligners and implants because I was like, hey, I gotta level up. Like maybe I need to do something, something that's more high ticket, something where I can actually like level up and actually make a difference with my patients. Started aligners, did over 50 cases in my first 6 months. All of a sudden, like it was the most amount of money that I made in that period of time. Most amount of patients I was able to like actually be a part of a transformation. They're coming back. They're like, hey, can we do veneers? Can we do whitening? Can we do this? Can we do that? And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is awesome. So then I started teaching the other doctors that I was working with, like mentoring them. I was at a group that at that time. That then led to me coaching and mentoring doctors locally, kind of as like a consultant in Austin. From there, posted on social media, created an online program, marketed that through social media, and basically got to a place where I just saw like nobody was really rolling their sleeves up and like helping dentists at the start. Like, yes, there are aligner education programs out there. Yes, there are other really good ones too. But for me, it's kind of like nothing really existed that was like super simple, super accessible, and then super just like hyper focused on the challenges of like starting. And so I was like, cool, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's where we're at. You know, we've helped over 350 dentists across all different aligner companies, Invisalign, SureSmile, ClearCorrect, you name it. Now we're also, you know, supporting some DSOs for the ones that actually want to provide mentorship for their docs. So yeah, we're kind of expanding in that regard. And for me, it just felt like a pull. It's like, hey, I like doing this. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm making an impact, which, I mean, that's what I like to do. I think that's what we all want to do, right? Is have an impact in some way. And then for me, it just looks a little bit different. Like, you know, I'm not in patients' mouths all the time, but I think we talked about this also at Yankee, where it's just like, hey, if you can help dentists improve and then help their own patients, right? It's like a 10x order of magnitude in terms of impact. Cause like, just being part of the journey, right? To either help them over the initial hump or help them grow while they're on that journey. To me, it's fulfilling. And like, that's kind of where I'm at.
So it's funny you brought up how like Invisalign starts leading to all these other cosmetic modalities. And it's like, I tell docs all the time that Invisalign is the gateway treatment to cosmetics. Like docs all the time, like I'm looking for veneer cases. Well, do more Invisalign cases. Or they say, I want to do more Invisalign cases. Well, then get more, you know, go find veneer patients or market for veneers and you will get more Invisalign because generally, I mean, you're a dentist, I'm not, 8 out of 10 times you have to do ortho before veneers, right? So like the two kind of, I think it's the non-invasive, most impactful modality of treatment for cosmetics. I mean, maybe whitening comes close, but whitening's not really, it's just a color change. But I think this is like biggest impact, least negative impact on the patient as far as pain or discomfort. This is number one, right?
100%. It's comprehensive. So, it's comprehensive care.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It sets up for so many important oral things. Like it helps your bite. It does 1,000 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they always get caught up on the lab fee, right? And I hear this from docs all the time. I'd love to hear your view on it. I'll talk to a doc and they'll say, well, I did Clear Choice or someone else. I'm like, well, why not Invisalign? You know, the lab fee's so high. Or I talk to docs and I go, hey, why don't you do more Invisalign? And they say something like this, which blows my mind. They say, well, for my time, I'd rather do something like crowns with a lower lab fee. And I'm like, but it's like 90% assistant driven, right? Like it's like before your time though, if you're charging the right amount, even if the lab, let's say it's for argument's sake, let's say it's maxed out lab fee, right? Based on your time for doing clean checks, it's still like better use of your time for dollars. I don't care what anyone says, right? And it's like we're stuck on that. I think it's $2,200 to $2,500 lab fee. It's somewhere in there. Maybe it's $2,250. What is the highest
like,
lab fee? What is
like
it now?
The highest. Well, if you're doing the crazy, honestly, I think it's around like fresh out. It's like 18 to 2K, 1,800.
2K,
to 2K.
Let's say it's 2K. Okay,
that's like
I thought it was a little higher than that. It's 2,000, right? So I'm wrong. So let's say you do 4,500. You're still 2,500 up, right? And you're doing clean checks, and your assistant's doing most of like it's 90. Like what are you doing? An oral scan, and then you're either sending it off, or you're doing it through an engine, or maybe you do it yourself. I don't know. That could be scary, measuring how your experience level is. But yeah, they get stuck on the lab fee, right? I mean, like some docs shouldn't jump into some complex cases. If you're new and you're bootstrapping stuff down and pulling it down, let's think twice about it. But like it is the lab fee. So like you're a dentist. Why do you think they get stuck on the lab fee? What is the psychology behind that?
It's something that we have to pay. And that's scary. Like, so
because it's cheap, right, bro?
Yeah, it's what it is. Very price sensitive, right? But it's funny because it's that same dentist will dole out like $40K to go to Mexico and like learn how to place implants on a bunch of people out there, and it's like no, and then they won't make any money for the 5 days that they're gone, so they're down however much they normally produce, and then they'll like won't place implants. Yeah. And so it's like, but that's not like a problem, right? And
yeah,
so,
or they'll buy a mill and they'll never use it, or a 3D printer, right?
Yeah, or they'll spend, multiple 5 figures and do these like continuums for, and again, people are going to come at me for it, but they go to these like full occlusion programs and full mouth rehab stuff, and then they don't implement it. Right. And that's not to say that those programs aren't worth it. They are worth it, but it's for the right dentist. And this is where I think we can pull this together, where The thing that I see with my colleagues is there's not enough clarity. Like people they're not clear on what their goals are. So then the things that they invest in don't make sense all the time. Because like if your goal for this year, right, is to, grow your office's revenue by X amount. Okay, cool. What levers are you pulling to do that? So, and again, I relate this to my story just as like an individual producer. Like I had a goal where I was like, cool, I want to have $100,000 months solely off of me. How do I do it? I could do a zillion fillings, or I could do $25,000 Invisalign cases. Cool. 20 cases if I'm working 5 days a week for 4 weeks. That's a case a day. Great. How do I do a case a day? Well, I better talk about it with every qualified patient, right? I better go in and make sure that my team is locked and loaded and they are talking about it because, right, if more people are talking about it, the chances of, right, patients like getting the education they need and moving forward with the treatment go up. So it's like, it's very clear. So like when somebody comes at me and they're like, hey, do you want to do implants? Like, no, I'm focusing on aligners. Like that's what I'm doing. And the thing is once that happens, you create these checkpoints and these systems along the way that then help you go to the next level with it, to a place where you've now systematized it to where somebody else is doing the majority of the work. So the ROI on that is exponential. Not to mention, when you do more cases, your lab bill goes down because of volume discounts. And that is the thing. And again, some people who are listening may know this, others may not. We're keeping the conversation on Invisalign for this episode, right? With Invisalign, and again, I don't get any money from Invisalign. Like Invisalign is not paying me. I'm not like they're not a paid sponsor for any of that stuff. But this is from what I've seen, right? Because we support doctors across all brands. With Invisalign though, if you're a new provider with them, yeah, they make you take their certification program, which, you just do it. Like everybody knows that program really doesn't teach you much. It just shows you their platform, which is fine because an aligner company's job is not to teach dentists how to move teeth. That's the dentist's job. We're the clinicians. We need to learn. So you'll do that, right? But then they give you basically like discounted lab fees for your first 90 days as long as you start 3 cases. So you have 3 months to start 3 cases. And once you do that, you get access to a discounted lab bill for the next 6 months. And then in that 6-month period, I think if you hit another very attainable metric like that, you now get it for the following 6. And so it's like, you're never actually going to have to pay $2,000 for a lab bill if you just start doing cases and then continue to do that. So yeah, let's dive into it. I think that's a big misconception, right? Because before we started this, you're like, hey, what are some misconceptions out there? And I'm like, yeah, like the Invisalign lab bill is not actually $2,000. And like, there's a very simple way that you can get to that.
It's interesting. Like I talk to docs, I train a lot of sales process, and the whole thing comes up with the iTero scanner, and some docs are like, oh, there's better scanners out there. I think the iTero scanner has more potential to make you money than the other scanners that are better. And this is my point on this, right? The iTero scanner is tied to a product that is the Halo product that people recognize. Listen, if you say Invisalign, people think that's all clear aligners, right? So you have this tool that's tied to that. So everyone's like, oh, I think this Trios is better than, or this other scanner is better than the iTero or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, the iTero has the more potential to make you money. And I think where the iTero isn't used is it kind of gets pigeonholed as like that's the Invisalign tool, when I think it's way more than that. And if we use it as way more than that, then everyone gets scanned. The first time I got scanned with an iTero, I saw a part of my mouth and my body I've never seen before. And they went through and looked at it and showed me like this cavity, and I was prepared all the time and showed me all this plaque and problems. And like, that was very impactful to me, but also my scan was done now. And then they showed me the Invisalign, demo, the simulation. And I was like, oh, I could straighten my teeth. Now I didn't do Invisalign because I don't care about my teeth the way they cosmetically look. I work in dentistry. I could give a shit. You guys don't like you guys judge me for my teeth. I don't care. But I don't. But like, I think the iTero gets labeled as this is only the Invisalign tool when it's a great diagnostic tool.
Or it's the alginate replacer, right? The PVS, the impression material replacement. It's more than that.
Yeah, it's way more than that. So I think docs don't realize that there's an easy way to build volume in the practice. Honestly, my opinion is not. I would mention it to every patient, not even qualified patients, because they might not need it, but someone in their life might. Like they might have a 20-year-old daughter who's in college or something who's complaining about her smile, and she's going to a different dentist, and they're like, oh, well, my dentist does Invisalign. And then, like, I think every patient should know we do Invisalign here. And honestly, if you're scanning everybody, then that's the opener, right? And I think everyone should be scanned on some frequency.
100%. The biggest thing one of the things that we teach, right, is every new patient, and then at every 6 months, right? So, and you alternate. So every 6 months you get an X-ray, cool. Every 6 months you get a scan, and the beauty is you can track that scan to the last scan. So you can literally see in real time, hey, this is what's changed with your teeth in the last 6 months. This is how much wear you've gotten. This is any shifting that's happened, right? This is how your gums have changed. Your gums are way more inflamed today than they were 6 months ago. Why is that? Cool. Let's talk about the position of your teeth. Let's talk about your habits. Like, it is a conversation where you are having, and you don't have to say that much, because the patient is going to look at it and be like, doc, what's that? Why does that look like that? Why does that look funny? It's like, because they're just pointing at something in their own mouth, so they're more engaged. And so it becomes a tool, like you said. And cool, maybe you do that and you show them, awesome. It's the patient who's had perio disease that has never done a deep cleaning with you guys because they didn't believe you. And now all of a sudden,
Selling perio maintenance.
Right? Yeah. Hey, cool.
100%.
Your gums are super inflamed here. You've got all this plaque buildup. Let's address that. Cool. Now you've addressed it. Like, okay, I believe you. I see it. Great. Now that we have that, do you want to like stop this from happening in the future? Yeah. So the root problem is the position of your teeth. Cool. How do we fix that? We do Invisalign. We move your teeth. You do that. Now all of a sudden you don't have as much plaque getting built up. So your gums are healthier, your teeth are healthier, and all that, right? Like, that is just like, that just comes, right? It just comes out of us. We know it as clinicians, but the patients they can't connect those dots, and they just need an image to be able to do that. But the other thing that I also like to hit home about it is like, every dentist says they want to elevate the standard of care, right? Oh, patient experience, super important. I love my patients, all that stuff. Cool. So like, what are you doing to act like, it's not the headphones. It's not the Netflix on the TV. It's not that. It's this. It's stop showing them the 50 shades of gray on a dental x-ray, expecting them to understand what they're looking at. It's just a bunch of gray. Like, they don't know what an x-ray is. And yes, you've got now AI tools like Overjet Pearl and all them that, you can show the patient the x-rays and stuff like that. But like, for a scan, it's basically like, and you're showing them their mouth in color that you can manipulate and zoom in, and like, that is powerful. So yeah, it helps sell more than just Invisalign. It elevates the patient care. And the way I say it is like, from a patient perception, like, they just see this thing like the iTero. They're like, dang, this thing looks like expensive piece of equipment. Like, it's not like some cheap little, hey, let's plug this USB scanner into the computer. It's like, it's a thing, right? And like, again, all of that is designed intentionally, right? Align designed their tool so that it looks expensive. It's like how Apple designs things, right? Like, the product itself is showing how expensive that is. And so you now are affiliating your practice with that brand, right? Okay, yeah, we have expensive things because we do high quality treatment. We take care of our patients, and we're doing things at another level. And then they get this scan, and then the best part is they don't get charged for it. So like, holy crap. Like, these guys just did this. Like, you charge them for x-rays, you charge them for everything, but you don't charge them for a scan. And it's like, yeah, because we want to show you what's going on. Now all of a sudden there's like this concept of reciprocity, right? This is a key pillar of influence, Robert Cialdini, right? Reciprocity. You give something, right, quote unquote, for free. Now the likelihood of that person doing something for you or wanting to engage with you goes up. And so, right, like, again, like, you charge them for a CBCT, you charge, like, you could charge for MRI. You're doing a friggin' scan that's going to show them their mouth in color. They've never experienced this before at your office or any other office they've been to. And they don't have to pay. And then you highlight problems, and then you talk about solutions, and then you just offer up doing Invisalign to help solve all those problems. Like, it's pretty seamless. And like, that is the story. I think that people, like, that is what you're investing in when you get a scanner and then actually leverage it. And like, because people are always like, oh, how do I get ROI? How do I get ROI? It's like, use it. Like, use it.
Dude, the ROI is sitting in the corner of your operatory with a screen and a handle on it and a scanner. And you're right about the product. The product is sexy to the patient. And you're right about not understanding the x-rays. I always look at, handling this process, my advice to doc listening is look at everything with new patient eyes all the time. Like, come in and be like, if I was a new patient, Would an X-ray or CBCT be more understanding, or would the scan be? Well, the scan would be, because the scan, you don't have to be a clinician or have any dental IQ to know it. And this is the deal, doc. Listen, if you're a doc listening, stop saying, I want patients with dental IQ. They don't exist. It's a falsity. It's total bullshit. No one has dental IQ but you. They might know some keywords, but no one has ever taught them dental. And I think for the regular person who's a patient who doesn't have dental IQ, which is everybody, especially patients who have this kind of work in their mouths, they have the lowest dental IQ. The patient who has perfect teeth, who does prophies all the time, who has dental insurance, they value dental. The patients that need lots of work, they don't, right? And this is the most impactful tool because it's very visual and simple, and humans are visual. So if you can show me visually and explain it as a professional, and when you're explaining it, don't get technical. Let the pictures speak for themselves. Let the scan speak for itself, right? Like that is the key. And what's really cool about the scanner too is I feel like the Trios and these other ones, you have to plug it into a laptop. There's cables, there's cords, you got to move it. You know, that scanner, you can grab it and move it through the practice. It's on wheels generally, and it works really well. And it is sexy, right? So going back to a couple things you said, I feel like docs do get caught up on that. Like it's one of those things, and docs do spend money. Like a doc that goes to go get an implant course, he'll spend 50 grand on the implant course. Let's say he doesn't have a CBCT yet, he'll buy that, right? He'll buy the handpiece and stuff he needs, and the drill set, whatever it is, the implant kit, and now he's like maybe 150 grand in, and then that doc will have clinical fear and was only looking for perfect implant cases, and he doesn't have anyone looking over their shoulder. And then that same doc I talk to, I'll say, hey, do you do implants? They'll say, yeah. I'll say, what's your collections? 50 grand a month or 80 grand a month. I was like, so you're not doing a lot of implants. Oh, I don't have a lot of good cases. Well, how much do you spend on it? Well, 4 years ago, I went and took an implant course. So you've probably placed 12 implants, 13 implants, 15 implants in a few years. What's nice about Invisalign is if you mess it up, you haven't destroyed a portion of the person's mouth. Like, it's, in my opinion, very recoverable. And I'm not a dentist. I don't know. But if it's not super complex and it's like, a soccer mom who's getting married and wants to move 2 teeth in the front a few millimeters, that's pretty straightforward to me. So, doc, like that fear, right? Because that fear is what's holding them back also for volume of, that fear will hold them back for volume of lab fees to get the lab fees down. How do you, when you coach a doc, how do you get them over that fear? Like what is the source of the fear? Explain that.
Yeah. So the source of the fear, look, dentists, we're humans, right? We are humans, even though a lot of us have an obsession with teeth. We are still humans. That's, at the end of the day, it's the fear of the unknown, right? So anytime there's something that you don't know about or how to do, you're going to naturally be afraid of it. Now, there are certain things you can do and steps that you can take to be able to mitigate that fear, right? So kind of the playbook that we share with dentists, and walk them through is look, first you need to know what's good, what's safe to treat and what you absolutely should not, right? From an actual, just a logical standpoint. After that, you need to just have somebody in your corner, somebody that you can bounce the cases off of, get a second set of eyes on, share it with them. So that way you can know, okay, cool, I followed the recipe on case selection, but am I still good here? Is this treatable? Now you have some reassurances. And again, kind of going back to what you said, right? I will say that a case may seem very simple and easy on the surface, but once you kind of dive into it and work it up, sometimes there can be variables that come up. So it's not that it's easy as 1, 2, 3 per se, but when you have these guardrails in place and you're selecting very, very specific cases in the beginning while you're in the confidence building phase, you will have much more success on the back end. And then kind of taking that a step further, once you know what types of cases you can do, right? You have this checklist that you go through in terms of how you're assessing it. You have somebody that's going to help you review it and coach you through it, right? In real time. The third thing is remembering this isn't surgery. If I talk to you, if you're in my chair, Matt, and I tell you, hey, Matt, you got crowding. We need to solve this with aligners. You're like, cool. How long is it going to take? I don't hesitate. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to take us about 8 months. And I know that because, right, you've qualified because I know how your teeth look based on the cases that that I take on. And then it'll be like, all right, cool. It's 8 months. Great. Here's how much it is, blah, blah, blah. You go through it. Great. Now Matt's paid me. We've had the case going. I may not know how to fully work it up, but I have somebody, like I said, that's in my corner that you can share that case with and talk to them about it. And then here's the best part is it's not like you're dropping in. The next time I see you, Matt, I'm not doing something that's irreversible. I'm giving you trays. I'm like bonding some buttons on your teeth, some attachments. Like I'm just doing like very simple bonding, which is very easy. Maybe we're doing some IPR, right? And IPR, you're essentially just polishing between the teeth. Like you're not doing anything super crazy. And by the way, doing 0.5 millimeters of IPR between two teeth is the equivalent of doing 0.25 millimeters. So a quarter of a millimeter on each tooth surface. That's all you're doing. And I tell dentists like, look, you're stressing over IPR of 0.5 millimeter, which is the most you could do. You don't even think twice when you totally take off the occlusal surface when you do crown preps. Like you're taking these crowns because they have like a crack in it and just shaving off all this other healthy enamel. And it's like, we're afraid to do IPR. And so these are the real fears. And I say this because I went through them, right? But again, they're not afraid of taking off all that tooth structure. They're just afraid because they haven't done that, right? They haven't polished between teeth, but we've taken teeth down from the top down, right? Stuff like that. So where I'm getting at with this is a lot of it is this fear up front, but this goes back to what I originally said. You got to get clear on what your goals are. Because if your goals are to grow your practice with Invisalign, you need to have these things in place, right? Understand what cases to take on, have someone you can bounce these cases off of, commit to doing it so that you can mitigate that lab bill. Because if you haven't, right, if you start up with Invisalign, let's say, and you're committed and you're driven, cool, this year, this is how we're growing, you can hit that discount with the volume cases because it's not that hard to start. As long as you have existing patients in the practice, you don't even have to put any money into marketing. You just start talking to the patients in the practice. Now all of a sudden, that lab bill goes down, and you've got all the contingency plans and support in place. So that's kind of how I would say it. And then the best thing is like once you accept and modify those ClinChecks, like even if things are not tracking, like for the most part, you can just move the teeth back, right? Stay within the parameters, and you can be safe. But part of it is like learning how to do this. I think that's kind of like the key takeaway here.
It's really interesting. Like there's a couple things about this that I found really, really interesting. One was, it's like there's a lot of things you can get mentored in, like all on four, all on X, really big invasive things. And you can't be mentored remote on those things. Like the person has to be in the op with you, right? With Invisalign, you can share a screen. You can do the planning with somebody. You can show the scan. Like it's the one thing that a coach can comprehensively remote coach you for.
That's what we do, which is why the whole reason why I started this is because I was like, why isn't it easier? Like I had a mentor when I first started and I was just sending them emails of my ClinChecks, like emailing back and forth. And this is not that long ago, right? And so I'm like, why doesn't a platform exist where I can easily share a case, get feedback, watch modules, consume it, have resources to kind of download and give? Like that's what we ended up creating. But like you said, to be able to support from a remote standpoint and actually make it, I think, even more effective and impactful, it's a no-brainer. And that's where, again, it all comes down to, well, why aren't more dentists doing it? It's because of this fear. And again, don't get into something that you like. If you don't have a strong enough why as to why you want to do something new, just don't do it. Like, don't go get a scanner and like, don't listen to this episode and just go get a scanner, like the iTero, and then start doing Invisalign just because you're like, oh yeah, like this sounds like the next best thing. Like you need to actually look yourself in the mirror and like, what am I trying to achieve? Do I want to make more money and work less? Right? Cool. If I want to do that, what are the things that I can do to drive that home? Do I want to, maybe you really want to use your hands more. Maybe you want to do more surgery. Cool. Don't get into Invisalign. Like, go do implants. Go do the course and the program, in another country. Do that because you feel more fulfilled when you're using your hands. Like there's a filter for everything. And so I think, if you are serious about it though, like Matt also kind of identified, like getting off the ground with this, very easy. there's so many resources out there to even help you grow, right? And I think this is, I mean, you see it with the groups that you work with, where once these docs are clinically confident to kind of diagnose, right, treatment plan it, modify, and get it going, like now when you throw marketing dollars behind it, it's like throwing gas on the fire at that point. And I think that's what's so cool, because then now you're getting more patients in for Invisalign, but you're also doing these other procedures on the cosmetic piece. And then dentistry just gets super fun at that point.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like when people like go buy things and they get in like a shopping habit and there's like, I want this, I want that. I feel like docs feel like they have to do every modality of treatment. And I think what it really should be, what you're saying, is double down the things that you can be effective with that does bring up standard of care for your patients. You know, I feel like it's in vogue right now to do implants all on X, all on 4. Like I feel like docs feel like they have to do it. Like I'm not a complete dentist if I don't do the, like I feel like there's also like a fallacy of like I have to own a practice to be a complete dentist. And now it's like the implant is the thing, and it doesn't have to be. And the reality is, let's take this from a numbers point of view, right? There is more opportunity in your existing patient base for clear aligners or Invisalign than there is for implants. I know that because my docs can never find implant cases and they come to me for implant cases, right? But you're always looking to grow your practice. And like there's this giant pool of opportunity called your existing patients. And I mean, honestly, dollars to output, like we get stuck on the lab fee, right? We can invest all this money in implants. The amount of money you spend on, you know, getting into clear aligners, your upside is way greater and your opportunity size is significantly bigger. And the other thing is, when you were talking, I wrote this down, is there's like very little dental anxiety, if any, around clear aligners. Like there's no resistance.
No, there's no resistance. They have to, you know, change their behavior. They got to wear the trays for 22 hours a day. But outside of that, it's really not much. And honestly, what we saw with a lot of our patients was like, it becomes this, from the patient's perspective, it becomes this like transformation. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the Invisalign diet, but basically like when patients go through Invisalign, they end up losing weight. And the reason is because they don't snack as much. Because if they're a compliant patient and they're dedicated to the outcome, which most of them are because they paid 5Gs to do it, they are basically, because you have to take your trays out whenever you eat. And then you have to, right, clean your mouth before you can put your trays back in.
Yeah,
and
you don't
so
want to
a lot of people, So what do you get? Exactly. So I've had some patients, and the before and after pictures are nuts, because like, yes, the pictures of the teeth were great. Like, yeah, they're pretty good. You know, we improved the position. It looks good. But like the actual human being and their face and all that, like you could just be like, oh my God. Like I think one of them, her before picture was like, you know, you just go like, okay, this is a person. But the before and after, like after she got new glasses, she had like done her hair. It wasn't like, you know, blown out or anything, but like her hair, so you could just tell she was taking more care of herself. And like, that was cool. Because that's not about teeth. That's about people. That's about transformation. And my patients even tell me, like, they're just like, I am starting to be more health conscious now. Because why? They're investing. And again, this comes back down to, we talk about aligners from an oral health improvement, not cosmetics. So if they're investing in oral health, the next thing is going to be, right, more aspects of their health. And like, that's what's really cool about this. And like, again, you're not going to be able to experience this unless you do it as a provider. And I know you've got a bunch of listeners that are doing it, probably nodding their head. They're thinking about all the times that the patients have told them. Like, that's the cool thing. Like, that is why we got into this field. It was to help people and be part of transformations. And so like, this is just a new way to do it. And it's also like the fastest growing way, right? Clear aligners are the fastest growing procedure in dentistry. You can thank Align for all the hundreds of millions of dollars they dropped on marketing, Smile Direct Club as well. But patients know about it and they want it. But the thing is they don't know that they qualify for it because you never told them. All the patients in your practice that you've never told, like, and 80% of patients have some type of misalignment malocclusion, right? But if you have never told your patients, outwardly told them and shown them, hey, you've got these issues, this is a solution, they literally don't think that they're qualified, but it's on their mind because they're watching football on Sunday. They're seeing the ads, their favorite influencers on TikTok and all this other stuff. Like they're all talking about Invisalign. And so they're thinking like, man, that'd be kind of cool to have. But I don't know. My dentist never really told me I needed it. So I probably don't need it, but I'd like it. And then just imagine if they come into your office the next day and then you show them a scan. You're like, hey, just want to let you know, like you actually qualify for, for Invisalign. Your teeth are in these positions. Like we can improve that. These are all the benefits. They'd be like, oh my God, really? Like it's right there. It's all sitting right underneath your nose.
I think what happens is, and you know better than me, is they see the lab fee, and in their head they go, well, an implant's $150 to $250 depending on brand. They say a crown's $50 to $80. If I have Sarah going to a lab, they're saying that's so low and so much upside, and then they're focusing on really the wrong money, right? And like the reality is, let's look at it from let's inverse it. Like we just talked about earlier. Let's look at it from an opportunity level, right? The opportunity level is there's more opportunity for the $2,000 lab fee procedure, and when you go volume, it comes down. Now, I think if I remember correctly, because my normal co-host, Dr. Vallo, I think if you're Blue Diamond, the lab fee is like $1,000 now or $1,100 or something, right?
Yeah, that's so Blue Diamond is definitely top tier, but like I would say and that again, you have a system, you have a machine pushing to that. What's very attainable if you've never done a case is probably like your gold, even your platinum, right? You do one Invisalign day, like you can hit platinum. And like that, I'm pretty sure that lab bill is around like 15, maybe 13 even. So I don't know. They change their tiers and all that stuff all the time, but like you can get it down to a very, quote unquote manageable amount. Cause if you got a $1,500 lab bill against a $5,000 case, that you're sitting on $3,500 right there.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it's probably close to the same as your profitability on an implant.
Yeah.
Like it's real close, right?
Yeah.
And the implant,
I know implants aren't cheap. Implants aren't cheap.
Yeah. And then you got to be in the room and listen, what is the risk of lawsuit and liability on implant versus clear aligners? Right? It's like risk versus reward, clear aligners, right? And like it is the best like investment because in reality, like it's a totally found profit center in the practice. It's just sitting there, doc. Like docs come to me all the time, Avi, and they're like, I need to grow my practice. I'm doing 80 grand a month. I want to get to 120. There's two things I ask about, and they actually kind of go together. Is one, are you really scanning everyone doing clear aligners? Because that's got to be 20 to 30 grand easy pickup, right? If you do 10K, so listen, if you have 300 patients coming through your practice a month and you scan everybody, you can find 10 cases, right? So let's say you're even undercharging. You're charging $4,000, right? A little bit less, or $3,500. Well, that's $35,000 in more production or collections, right? And I always harp on financing. And then if you're doing a lot of financing, you'll get bigger cases of all kinds of stuff, right? So I mean, like those two profit centers alone could move you $60,000 a month before you spend $1 on a marketer. Now, listen, that hurts for me to say because my profession is being a dental marketer, right? But also my job is like your job is to have standard of care. My job is to be truthful with the dentist and provide them all the sources of revenue they're missing out on, right? And they're the first two. If I have a doc coming to me and they say, hey, I'm doing 50 grand a month, I can't afford services. I'm like, are you scanning everybody? Or are you offering credit applications? Now, one place I'm going to ask you about, this is more clinical. I feel like docs also do this. They say, well, there's a break point where like bracket and wire makes more sense. And what I have found is my super duper clear aligner docs, well, Invisalign, I think Invisalign is the best product if it becomes a complex case. And I'm not a dentist. This is my opinion from what I've seen. I have docs that, I mean, honestly, they can do almost anything you can do with bracket and wire. Like they do some pretty amazing stuff, right? And what I will tell you is my practices that do clear aligners and bracket and wire, so I can market for all ortho, they have amazing returns, right? So like, do you think there really is, for like the general patient, right? Like you have somebody come in that's really messed up, teeth behind teeth, I don't know, moving stuff's hard. But like generally, once you develop your skills and have good coaching, you should be able to handle 90% of the problems in your practice for ortho.
You can. That's definitely a growth pathway. And that's like, so ortho is one of those things where it's not 1 + 1 = 2. And what I mean by that is like, with implants, let's use that as the example, right? First, you do single tooth replacement, right? Then you're doing two sites, then you're doing all on X, right? Implant support dentures, all that stuff. And you kind of start doing these like more and more complex things. And again, you make more money as an implant dentist because you're doing these bigger and bigger transformations. What I like to tell docs is like with aligners, you actually never have to do the complex stuff. Like you could be very profitable just by getting more efficient at the simple, straightforward ones and then investing in marketing to just go get more simple, straightforward ones. Like, for example, if you want to do a lot of those simple relapse cases that can lead to more cosmetic stuff on the back end, one, you make your messaging about veneers like you had mentioned. Two, you literally just call out the fact that, hey, if you had braces as a kid and you didn't wear your retainers and your teeth have shifted, you're actually exposed to a lot of these problems. We'd love to do a free scan on you to show you exactly what's going on and talk about it. Great, bang. Right? Book a consult here. There's your ad. Guess who's going to come in on that ad? People who used to have braces and didn't wear their retainers. So it's a relapse. So what is a relapse? That is a 6 to 8 month case. What's on the back end of that? A patient who is willing to invest in more procedures, right? To elevate their smile, elevate their confidence, all of that. Like that's your package. That's your growth package right there. But going back to what you said about can dentists handle most like 90% of cases? Yeah, you can. But I push back when kind of that break point in terms of it's not even about what is Invisalign capable of. It's not about that. It's about what makes sense in your practice. Do you want to actually keep all of that stuff in-house? Or does it make more sense to just do the cases that are way more efficient, way more predictable, and then get the other stuff out to the orthodontist? But now you're referring more, so your orthodontist is going to love you because probably before you were only sending them crazy surgical, right, cases because your team wasn't talking about stuff. But like, if you're unsure, just refer it. Like, there's no risk. Just refer it. And worst case, what? Your patient gets really good care from an orthodontist, and now your orthodontist likes you. And if you ever get stuck on a case, like they're willing to support you and help you out. Like that's the abundance mindset that we talk to our doctors about because it's a blue ocean, man. Like, and at the end of the day, I'm sorry. Like what adult wants to wear bracket and wire? Like you tell me, like dentists say that, some dentists say, oh, it's really hard to get patients to commit to $5,000 or whatever. So even if you could charge half that, let's say you're charging $2,500 for bracket and wire, you have to now sell the patient on the fact that they're going to have like metal bracket and wires in their mouth for like a year. Try doing that in terms of like, right from like a sales perspective. It's just like that's what I say. You got to commit. Like you got to commit. Like if you're going to do aligners, just go do aligners. Don't worry about trying to treat 90% of the patients. Why don't you just go do the basic stuff? Then go do a lot more of the basic stuff. And then at that point, if you're like, yeah, I really want to do more complex stuff, cool, you can do it. But you're going to do it from a position of like abundance, not because, right, that there's some scarcity. So that's kind of how I feel about treating all the cases. I just don't think you need to.
I feel really passionate. I mean, like my job as a marketer is to find all avenues of revenue for growth, right? Even if it already exists in the practice. Any of my clients that work with me will tell you, like Matt will look at dental intel and really diagnose stuff in the practice to help me find other revenue. And I feel like this is probably from a modality of treatment point of view, this is the most missed profit center in a practice. Period. End of story. You'll go to a CEREC thing and they say, oh, if you do this many crowns, this machine pays for itself. What I will tell you is, listen, if you want equipment being paid for and you want your iTero paid for, do a few cases. You will hit it, right? Like it'll happen. And I think it is the most missed profit center from a modality of treatment point of view. Like it's literally like, doc, listen to me. You call whoever, you try to spend all this money on stuff. There is money laying on the floor all over your operatory every single time a patient comes in. Are you brave enough to pick it up? Just scan the person and have the conversation. The money is laying there. It really is. I think we're going to have Avi on again and maybe do a free webinar also for listeners. So Avi, really quick, just to close it out. We never endorse products and stuff on here, but we find really good coaches who are clinically awesome. And we met. And instantly, I was like, we're gonna do something together. I really believed in you. I really did. I was like, this guy's awesome, especially from a clear aligner point of view. Like, I think it's such an important subject. If somebody wanted to contact you and tap into your brain and get help. What is the best way to do it?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And honestly, just real quick, like your passion and your genuine desire to help dentists, like I felt that. I felt that when we first met, and the more that we've talked about it, and you're probably one of the, I would say, smartest when it comes to in the marketing category, from like understanding doctors, the pain points, and then solutions without even asking for anything in return. So props to you on that. Yeah, I'm super excited. As you can tell, I'm also very passionate about this stuff. So, coming back on, happy to do it. But yeah, if anybody has questions, honestly, the easiest way to get in contact is just message me. Instagram is where I'm usually at. Like a lot of other people, just addicted to that platform, but it's dr.avi. And yeah, just shoot me a message there. I put out content daily, sharing tips and whatnot. But yeah, that's where you can go if you want to ask me questions. We've got free trainings and stuff like that as well. Yeah, so always happy to help. And I mean, yeah, just hit me up.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. One place I pride myself over most marketers is I spend a lot of time in clinic. And my account managers that work for me, they meet once a month for a clinical knowledge hour, and we bring in clinical experts so they can speak dental. And my clients are always surprised when they're talking about an implant failure with one of my account managers, and they go, "Are you guided? Are you having irrigation issues? Did you burn the bone?" And they're like, "You're an account manager for a marketing company." So at my company, I never really say the name of the company on the podcast because it's separate, but I will tell you, clinical knowledge at my company is paramount, and it starts with me. And I do love helping dentists, and the clinical part of it, I'm fascinated about. So, thanks for those kind of words. It means a lot. Hey guys, it's really simple. We do this podcast completely for free. There is no sponsors ever paid for. Avi did not pay to come on. He's a personality and a brain I believed in when I met him. There's no pay to play. So all this is done to invest in the marketplace and invest in you guys as clinicians. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, and please leave me a review. Positive or negative, both matter to me. We care about your feedback. Me and Dr. Vallo, my normal guest, my normal co-host, really love this project. It's something we're passionate about. And thank you guys so much for listening and supporting us. Thank you so much for being awesome listeners. Have a great day.